Across 3 continents, on stone weathered by 3 different oceans, the same shape repeats. A precise rectangular opening carved into solid rock. The frame is exact. The threshold is finished. The hinge marks are absent because no door was ever fitted. Behind the opening, there is no chamber. There is no passage. There is only more stone. Across 3 continents, on stone weathered by 3 different oceans, the same shape repeats. A precise rectangular opening carved into solid rock. The frame is exact. The threshold is finished. The hinge marks are absent because no door was ever fitted. Behind the opening, there is no chamber. There is no passage. There is only more stone. The first wrong feeling comes before the explanation. A doorway asks the body to expect passage. These did not. The civilizations that carved them had no demonstrated contact. They were separated by thousands of years and thousands of kilometers. They each refused to build a room. Origin Protocol. Recurrence File 004. Entity Designation, Topology, GRF004. 3 doors. No interiors. No passage. The pattern is the file, Lake Titicaca, southern Peru. The Hayumarca rock face, near the village of Juli. A monolithic doorway carved into a single block of red volcanic stone. 7 meters tall. 2 meters wide. The frame is precisely cut. The threshold is level. There is a smaller recessed niche at the center of the doorway, at the height of a kneeling adult. The recess is approximately 12 centimeters deep. Behind the recess is solid rock. Aymara oral tradition calls it the Gate of the Gods. Later accounts describe it as a portal, a ceremonial surface, or an unfinished carving. The documentary chain is uneven. The physical fact remains simpler. The recess ends in stone. Stand close enough, and the shape stops looking unfinished. It looks completed for a purpose that refuses to explain itself. The corners are square. The threshold is finished. Whoever cut this stone was not abandoning a project. They were completing one. The product of the completion was a doorway with no other side. Central Italy. The Etruscan necropolis at Norcia, the cliff faces of San Giuliano, the carved facades of Savannah. Beginning in the 6th century before the Common Era, Etruscan stonemasons cut rectangular doorways into volcanic tough cliff faces. The frames are detailed. The thresholds are finished. Many include carved architraves and lintels. Behind every visible doorway, there is no chamber. The actual tombs are reached through a separate small entrance, often offset to the side or below. The visible doorway is a facade. Archaeological surveys across Etruria document the pattern repeatedly: carved door facades, finished thresholds, and actual tomb entrances placed elsewhere. The monument presented a doorway while redirecting the actual entrance elsewhere. The Etruscans carved the doorway shape, finished it precisely, and then refused to put a room behind it. The interior was placed elsewhere. The exterior remained a doorway leading nowhere. Northeast India. The hills of Meghalaya and Nagaland. Megalithic stone structures dating from the late Iron Age, between approximately 1000 before the Common Era and the early medieval period. Across parts of northeast India, megalithic traditions preserved stone structures with small, deliberate openings carved into vertical stone slabs. Some are associated with funerary or ancestral belief. The opening is too small for an adult to enter. It is too precise to be a natural fault. Colonial era and modern archaeological surveys have documented the structures across multiple villages, and field reports have repeatedly confirmed that the openings led to nothing. There were no burial chambers behind them. There were no passages. Local oral tradition speaks of a door for the spirits of the dead, but there is no enclosed space for a spirit to enter. The regional traditions are not identical. The recurrence is structural, not cultural. The frame is real. The interior is absent. Place the three cases beside each other. Andean South America in the early colonial period, Aymara stoneworking heritage. Etruscan Central Italy in the 6th century before the Common Era. Northeast India in the Iron Age. The civilizations had no demonstrated contact. The languages share no documented cognates. The construction techniques arose independently in volcanic tuff, sandstone, and weathered basalt. Each civilization carved a doorway. Each civilization finished the carving with precision. None of them attached a room. Field descriptions and archaeological interpretations converge on the same physical point: the visible threshold does not continue into a usable chamber. The doorway is the entire structure. The frame is the design. Different stone. Different dead. Different gods. Same threshold. Three independent civilizations completed the same refusal across 3,000 years. There are explanations. The strongest are offered honestly. Etruscan false doors are well understood within their cultural context. They were ritual markers, indicating the presence of a tomb without revealing its actual entrance. The interior was relocated for protection. The doorway remained as religious symbol. Aramu Muru is interpreted by mainstream archaeology as either an unfinished colonial-era niche or a pre-Columbian Aymara ceremonial carving, a declarative monument, not a functional passage. The Northeast Indian megalithic openings are most often interpreted as symbolic spirit doors connected to local funerary belief, culturally enclosed practices. Each explanation works within its own civilization. Each explanation accepts the same physical reality. The doorway exists. The interior does not. The explanations are not weak. That is what makes the recurrence harder to dismiss. Each culture explains its own door. None explains why the same structural choice returned elsewhere. Consider what the explanations share. Each explanation accepts the same physical fact. The civilizations that built these structures could have left a flat wall. They could have carved a niche. They could have built a small enclosed chamber. They did none of these things. They built a doorway. A doorway has a specific architectural meaning. It is not a wall. It is not a niche. It is the threshold between two enclosed spaces. The threshold is a relationship. It requires two sides. A doorway is an instruction. A threshold tells the body to move. These thresholds gave the instruction, then removed the world behind it. The frame remained. The permission did not. A false door is still a promise. The horror is not that it fails to open. The horror is that it was never meant to. Three civilizations, working independently, cut the threshold. None of them cut the second side. The cultural explanations differ. The structural choice does not. Each civilization built a doorway that could not be passed through. Each one finished it. Each one walked away. The doorways remain. They have remained for centuries and for millennia. They have not opened. 3,000 years since the earliest case. 3,000 kilometers between the farthest two. Aramu Muru continues to receive visitors. Etruscan necropoli continue to be photographed by archaeological teams. The Northeast Indian megaliths continue to weather under monsoon rain. The pattern remains documented. The pattern remains unexplained. There is no single contact theory that connects the three civilizations. There is no theory that explains why three independent peoples completed the same architectural refusal. The doorways exist. The interiors do not. The frames are precise. The thresholds are finished. The hinge marks are absent. No one fitted a door. No one built a room. The recurrence is not a passage. It is the memory of passage. The recurrence is the structure. The structure is the file. Origin protocol. Recurrence file 004. The doors are open. They have always been open. They have never led anywhere. Cross-reference. Topology, GRF004 represents the inaugural file of the topology classification within recurrence files. The pattern documents architectural reproduction across geographically and chronologically isolated civilizations of a single structural anomaly, the doorway without an interior. Where CROSSPN documents repeated entity sightings, Chronicho repeated event narratives, artifact a single object resisting analysis, topology documents repeated structural form. The three primary cases, Aramu Muru, Etruscan rock-cut false doors, Naga Hills megalithic dolmens, were carved by populations with no demonstrated contact, separated by oceans and millennia, into stone of locally available volcanic tuff and weathered basalt. No case has produced an interior chamber. Each case has produced a frame. The recurring frame is the file. End of file.